I love journals. I absolutely love journals, and I have many journals. I can't give you a number. I have so many journals, and I'll always love journals, and I suspect by God's grace I'll own plenty more in the future. Alright, so this journal, I want to talk to you today about this journal. This journal, it says, "Be joyful in hope," Romans 12, verse 12. And this journal was given to me by my children, my three children, in, it says, October 30th, 2019. So I've had this journal for a while. So I have so many journals that, it might take a while for me to get to it. So anyways, this particular journal is my book of testimonies, miracles, and gratitude. I'll get back to this book in a moment. All right, so welcome everybody back to my my channel, my video, and this is episode 2 of just testimonies that I want to share with the world. Hopefully, it will inspire you. All right. So this week, what I'll talk about is my testimony of tithing. And for everyone who tithes, you don't get one testimony of tithing, you get several. So I am going to try to just limit this to just a special moment, all right, of tithing. So tithing is something I've not always been able to do, especially of course, after becoming a believer, after becoming a baptized, born again believer. That's something I really wanted to do. And you should do it. But different things limited me. Maybe first and foremost, my mindset. But let's get to the testimony, because I don't want my videos to be long, yeah? The testimony is kind of my husband's testimony that I'm sharing. Beginning of this year, right? At the beginning of this year, one of my private prayers was for my husband to join me in tithing, to, just embrace the idea, embrace the practice, and diligently tithe. And I wanted him to do this without my prodding. I didn't want to be bothering him, because if and when I share his testimony, or he joins me and shares his testimony, one big thing is I don't push my children, I don't push my husband, I don't push anybody. I just encourage, or I just live my life, right? So anyways, beginning of the year, one of my prayers was for him to tithe. At that point, he was pretty much a new believer, like a new, decided to be a believer and gave his life to Christ. So, I don't want to push. But right at the top of the year, he came and he asked me about tithing. He said, he didn't fully understand this thing, but he's hearing it in sermons, and he wanted to just do this. So God answered my prayer pretty quickly, and he just said, let's tithe, even though he didn't fully get it then. So I did tell him that a friend of ours gave a testimony of her husband coming around and deciding to tithe, and they got a pretty instant testimony. He got back exactly the figure that he had tithed that month. So for anybody who doesn't know, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a teacher, so I'm not going to get into the whole all of the schisms of this. But tithing basically is you give your first 10% of what you earn, and there's one for other things to it, but just basic 10% of your salary, 10% of your earnings, and the first 10% of it. So so when he tithed that month, it was a chunk. It was a chunk, because same salary for a couple of years, and a big sacrifice that. So we tithed the money, and we knew this was going to be tough in terms of meeting all the other targets for the month, budget wise. But again, I had given him the testimony of my friend, right? So anyways, pay the tithe, and right as we paid the tithe, maybe like a few days after we paid the tithe, I wanted a similar testimony to my friend, right? Where we would get back the money that we tithed somehow. But I didn't want to limit God. However he wanted to do it, I was like, God, I just want there to be a testimony so that my husband could get a quick demonstration of tithing. So I'm talking for 5 minutes already. All right, so that month, somebody in my Loved by Love Himself Elevation e-group messaged me. She just randomly messaged me one day. I have never physically met this person. We do this group online, but it's like a family to us. 1 second, let me take something off my phone. Don't fall, phone. Yeah, so she messages me and she says basically that she's moved to send through some money for me, that God in her devotion time, God's told her that she needs to bless me. So yo, you know that blow my mind, right? That blow my mind that God's gonna tell somebody in their quiet time to bless me, just like that. Like my name just come up in it. That's it. Remember that I'm living a life of testimony, so that thrills me. That thrills me. I don't believe I made a big deal of it. I'm not sure if I mentioned it. I must have mentioned it somehow to Hubby that, you know, this happened. But I don't know the figure. She didn't tell me the figure. And at the time when she mentions that she's going to send the money, this is right before we pay the tithe. So we know we're going to pay the tithe before we pay the tithe. And she's trying to send the money and there's some hold up with it. Like there's something going wrong. Anyways, I end up receiving that money about a week after she sends it, and between that time we would have paid their tithe. When I go and collect the money, I kid you not, remember she did not tell me the amount, she just told me I need to go collect it. I go to Western Union and I collect this money, and it is exactly to the T 10%, exactly what we tithed, plus another 10% so I could tithe again. So like to the T, when I tell you guys, exactly 10% of our salary plus an additional 10% so I could tithe again, I could retithe. This, guys, listen, you see, when God gives a promise, He gave a promise in Malachi 3 verse 10. I need you to read this yourself. I need you to explore tithing if you've never explored this concept of tithing before. I know different people have different views about it. I think it's something from the Old Testament, blah, blah, blah. Just look into this, because I promise you, especially if you're skeptical, go and tithe. Read about it, watch sermons on it, and tithe, because can you believe, no, you know, after that I don't explain anything to my husband, right? He saw it in action, like God was so swift. And I now understood why there was a delay, why I didn't get it on time, because had we gotten it on time, this would have been before the tithe was paid. So God is such an awesome God, because on her end, when she told me what the holdup was for her, quick, so she wanted to actually buy bandages for Marley. There's a link online, an Amazon wishlist thing, where you can go on and buy bandages for Marley. And that's what she initially tried to do. And every time she tried to use the link, it wouldn't work, which is weird, because when I went to check the link, it was working. But I believe God didn't make the link work so that she would, you know, here and now send the money. So God is intentional. God is awesome. And then now I get back to my book. So I want the video to be less than 10 minutes. So my journal, my book of testimonies, miracles, and gratitude. What I decided to do with this book last year, at the end of 2022 going into 2023, is I decided to write down my gratitude every week. If you do this habit, I'm encouraging you to do this in 2024 and beyond. I know normally people have daily gratitude, and you should do that if you want, but I found that having weekly gratitude is amazing. So I just write the dates, the beginning of the week, and I write down the things I'm grateful for that week, and I try to keep it to a page. And at the very least, at the end of a year, you will have 52 pages of things that you're grateful for. And trust me when I tell you, it is such a powerful thing to look back through your journal and be reminded of all the awesome testimonies you have, because the things that you're grateful for turn out to be testimonies, right? So that's my encouragement, guys. Get a journal, write your weekly gratitude down, and glorify God. All right, there we go. 10 minutes. Bless you. Be blessed this week, and I hope to see you next week. Praise God. Take care.